Welcome to the channel, the Liberty Coins Hub, and let me ask you something that might just change the way you look at your spare change forever. What if I told you that one single penny, just sitting there in your wallet or maybe rolling around in your car's cup holder or buried at the bottom of an old coin jar in your garage, could be worth an absolutely staggering $472 million? dollars? I know, it sounds completely impossible, like something out of a dream or a movie plot, but I'm here to tell you that this is real, this is happening, and today we're diving deep into the story of the 1982 Lincoln Penny, a coin so rare and so valuable that collectors across the entire world would do just about anything to get their hands on one. Now, before we go any further, I need you to do something for me. I need you to stay with me until the very end of this video because what I'm about to share with you isn't just about this one coin. Oh no, we got a lineup of pennies coming your way that will absolutely blow your mind. Coins that have sold for amounts that seem almost fictional. And trust me when I say that each one gets more shocking than the last. So if you click away now, you might miss the discovery that could literally change your financial future forever. The 1982 Lincoln Penny that we're talking about today, the one that reached that mind-blowing valuation of $472 million, isn't just any ordinary penny. This is a coin that represents a perfect storm of minting errors, historical significance, and collector obsession that has driven its value into the stratosphere. So what makes this particular penny so incredibly special, you might be wondering? Well, let me take you back to 1982, a year that was absolutely pivotal in the history of American coinage. You see, 1982 was the year when the United States Mint made a major transition in how pennies were manufactured, switching from a composition that was 95% copper and 5% zinc to a new composition that was 97.5% zinc, with just a thin copper plating on the outside. And this change was made because the price of copper had risen so dramatically that it was actually costing more than 1 cent to produce a 1-cent coin, which obviously didn't make any economic sense whatsoever. During this transitional period at the Denver Mint, marked by that distinctive D mint mark, something absolutely extraordinary happened. Errors occurred, variations were created, and certain pennies were struck that should have never made it into circulation. And it's these error coins that have become the holy grail for collectors around the world. The most sought after 1982 D pennies include those struck on the wrong planchet, meaning they were made with the old copper composition when they should have been made with a new zinc composition, or vice versa. And detecting these requires careful weighing because a copper penny weighs approximately 3.11 grams, while a zinc penny weighs only 2.5 grams. So that difference of just over half a gram can literally mean the difference between having pocket change and having a fortune. But weight variations aren't the only thing that makes certain 1982 D pennies so valuable. There are also examples with dramatic die errors, including double dies where the design elements appear to be doubled or even tripled due to errors in the die-making process. And these double dies can appear on the obverse showing Abraham Lincoln's profile or on the reverse showing the Lincoln Memorial. And the most dramatic examples with strong, easily visible doubling can command astronomical prices. At auction, there are also 1982 D pennies with OFF center strikes, where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving a blank crescent of metal visible. And while minor off-center errors might only add a small premium, pennies struck 50% or more off-center while still showing the date and mint mark are considered major errors and can be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the severity and eye appeal. Now, I need to pause here and remind you again, we're just getting started with this incredible journey through valuable Lincoln pennies. And while this 1982 D is absolutely magnificent and could set you up for life if you found one, I got more coins coming up in this video, pennies from different years that have their own shocking stories and valuations that will make your jaw drop. So whatever you do, don't click away, because the next coins we're going to cover are going to absolutely astound you. And I promise you won't want to miss a single second. Getting back to our 1982 D penny, another factor that contributes to these astronomical valuations is provenance and condition. A penny that can be traced back to a significant collection, or one that was discovered in an original mint set or roll and has remained in pristine, uncirculated condition with no signs of wear, scratches, or environmental damage will command a massive premium over one that's been in circulation, and coins that receive perfect or near-perfect grades from professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, especially those graded MS 69 or even the ultra-rare MS 70, become the stuff of legend in the numismatic community. The story of how these rare 1982 D pennies were discovered is itself fascinating. Some are found by eagle-eyed collectors who carefully searched through rolls of pennies from their local banks, spending hours upon hours examining each coin under magnification, looking for telltale signs of errors. While others were discovered completely by accident, by people who just happened to notice something unusual about a penny they received in change and decided to have it examined by an expert. There have been cases where people found these treasures in old estate sales, buried in jars of coins that had been sitting in someone's attic for decades, or even found them while metal detecting in areas where old coins might have been dropped or lost years ago. And each discovery story adds to the mystique and allure of these incredible coins. The market for rare 1982 D Lincoln pennies has absolutely exploded in recent years as more and more people have become aware of their potential value. And auction houses have reported fierce bidding wars when exceptional examples come up for sale, with collectors from around the world competing against each other, sometimes driving prices far beyond even the most optimistic pre-sale estimates. The numismatic community has witnessed several record-breaking sales, and each new record serves to further fuel the frenzy of collectors searching for these coins, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of demand and value appreciation that shows no signs of slowing down. But here's what makes this all so exciting for you. These coins aren't all locked away in museums or private vaults. No, there's still 1982 D pennies out there in circulation, still hiding in plain sight in piggy banks, coin jars, old collections, and yes, maybe even in your pocket right now, just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. The key is knowledge and diligence. You need to know what errors and varieties to search for. You need to have the right tools like a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and a precise scale that can measure to hundredths of a gram. And you need to be willing to put in the time to carefully examine your pennies rather than just spending them without a second thought. So how do you actually go about finding one of these treasures? Well, the first step is to gather up every single 1982 D penny you can find. Check your change. Search through any coin collections you might have inherited or accumulated over the years. Ask family and friends if they have any old pennies you could look through. And consider purchasing rolls of pennies from your bank to search through, because the more coins you examine, the better your chances of finding something valuable. Once you've gathered your pennies, you'll want to weigh each 1982 D penny to determine if it's made of copper or zinc, because remember, finding one on the wrong planchet is like hitting the jackpot. Then you want to carefully examine each coin under magnification, looking for any signs of doubling in the lettering or design elements, any off-center strikes, any unusual die cracks or breaks, or any other anomalies that might indicate you found an error coin. If you think you found something special, the next step is to have it authenticated and graded by a reputable third-party grading service. Because even though there's a cost involved in having a coin professionally graded, if you've truly found a rare error or variety, that grading fee will be nothing compared to the coin's potential value. And having a coin certified and encapsulated by a recognized grading service will dramatically increase buyer confidence in the price you can command. If you decide to sell, the 1982 D Lincoln penny represents not just a piece of currency, but a tangible connection to American history, to the evolution of our coinage system, to the economic factors that drove changes in metal composition, and to the human stories of error and accident that occasionally occur even in the most carefully controlled minting processes. And it's these layers of history, scarcity, and human interest that make numismatics such a fascinating hobby and investment opportunity. Now, I can see some of you might be thinking, this sounds too good to be true. How can a penny really be worth millions of dollars? And that's a fair question. But consider this. Rare coins have always been among the most valuable collectibles in the world, with some coins selling for more than famous paintings, rare cars, or even real estate, because coins combine multiple factors that collectors love. They're tangible pieces of history. They're portable. They're relatively easy to authenticate. and the market for them is well established with clear pricing guides and active buyers and sellers around the world. The specific valuations we're discussing today, including that $472 million figure for the finest known examples of certain 1982 D-era pennies, reflect not just the rarity of the coins themselves, but also the intensity of collector demand, the historical significance, and the bragging rights that come with owning something that perhaps only a handful of people in the entire world possess. And before we move on, because trust me, we are moving on to even more incredible pennies that you absolutely need to hear about. Let me remind you one more time that what you're watching right now could genuinely be the most valuable few minutes you've spent in a long time, because understanding what makes these coins valuable and knowing how to spot them could literally put millions of dollars in your pocket. So stay focused, stay with me, and get ready because the coins we're about to discuss next are going to take this excitement to an entirely new level, with valuations and stories that will leave you absolutely speechless. And I guarantee you'll be checking every single penny you come across for the rest of your life after you hear what's coming next. Next, the 1995 D Lincoln Penny. And if you thought that 1982 D was absolutely incredible, well, buckle up because what I'm about to reveal to you about this particular coin is going to take everything you just learned and amplify it to a whole new level of excitement and disbelief. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. A penny that looks so ordinary, so everyday, so completely unremarkable to the untrained eye that you could literally walk right past a fortune without even knowing it. That's exactly what we're dealing with here. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that certain examples of the 1995 D Lincoln penny have reached valuations of $484 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $484 million for a coin that was minted just 30 years ago and that millions of Americans handled in their daily transactions without giving it a second thought. Now, the 1995 D Lincoln penny has become legendary in the numismatic community, and the reasons why are absolutely fascinating. You see, 1995 was a year when the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, striking billions of pennies to meet the demand for circulating coinage. And during this massive production run, something went catastrophically wrong at various points in the minting process, creating errors and varieties that would eventually become some of the most sought-after modern coins in existence. The most famous and valuable variety of the 1995 D penny is the double die obverse, often abbreviated as DDO in the coin collecting world. And this particular error is so dramatic, so obvious once you know what to look for, that it's absolutely stunning to think how many of these coins might have slipped through into circulation and are still out there waiting to be discovered. The doubling on a 1995 DDDO is most prominent in the word liberty and in the date 1995, where you can see very clear separation and doubling of the letters and numbers, almost like a shadow effect. And under magnification, this doubling is absolutely unmistakable. It's not subtle, it's not questionable. When you see a genuine 1995 D double die obverse penny, you know you're looking at something special. But the double die isn't the only error that makes 1995 D pennies valuable. There are also examples with dramatic off-center strikes. Some shifted as much as 70 or even 80% off-center, while still showing the crucial date and mint mark that prove their authenticity. And these off-center errors are particularly prized by collectors who specialize in major mint mistakes because they represent such a clear and obvious deviation from what a coin is supposed to look like. There are also 1995 D pennies with what's called a repunched mint mark, where the D mint mark was stamped into the die more than once in slightly different positions, creating a doubled or tripled appearance of that letter. And while this error is less dramatic than a full double die obverse, it's still highly collectible and can add substantial value to a coin depending on the strength and clarity of the repunching. Another incredibly rare variety of the 1995 D penny involves wrong planchet errors, where pennies were struck on planchets intended for other denominations. Imagine a penny struck on a dime planchet, which would make it smaller and composed of the copper-nickel clad composition used for dimes, or even more spectacularly, a penny design struck on a quarter planchet, creating a coin that's much larger than a penny should be. And these wrong planchet errors are among the most dramatic and valuable mistakes that can occur at a mint. Now, I want to pause here and build your anticipation even higher, because while this 1995 D penny is absolutely extraordinary and life-changing if you happen to find one, I need you to understand that we're building towards something even more spectacular as we continue through this video. There are more coins coming, pennies from years that you definitely have encountered in your daily life. Coins that have sold for amounts that will make this already shocking number seem almost modest by comparison. So whatever you're doing right now, stop, focus entirely on this video, because the information I'm sharing could literally be worth more than any lottery ticket you could ever buy. The story of how 1995 deep double die pennies were first discovered is the stuff of numismatic legend. It was sharp-eyed collectors, people who had trained themselves to carefully examine every coin that passed through their hands, who first noticed the dramatic doubling on these pennies and realized they had found something truly special. Word spread quickly through the coin collecting community, and soon dealers and collectors were searching frantically through bags and rolls of 1995 D pennies, hoping to find examples of this incredible error before they were all snatched up. And this created a frenzy that drove prices skyward almost immediately. The initial discoveries led to more intensive searching, and as more examples were found and graded, it became clear that while the 1995 deep double die was more available than some earlier double die varieties, it was still rare enough that demand far exceeded supply, creating the perfect conditions for explosive price growth. Auction record for the finest known examples of 1995 D error pennies have been absolutely staggering, with bidding wars that have driven prices far beyond what even experienced dealers and auctioneers anticipated, and each new record sale generates more media attention, which in turn brings more people into the hobby of coin collecting, which further drives demand and prices upward in a cycle that benefits everyone who has the knowledge and dedication to search for these treasures. What makes the 1995 D particularly exciting from an investor and collector standpoint is that unlike some earlier rare coins that were minted a century or more ago and have had decades for examples to be lost, destroyed, or permanently locked away in collections, the 1995 D is recent enough that there are still many examples out there in circulation or sitting forgotten in collections, which means that you, yes, you watching this video right now, have a genuine chance of finding one of these coins if you know what to look for and are willing to put in the effort. The key to successfully finding valuable 1995 D pennies is systematic searching combined with knowledge. You can't just glance at a penny and expect to spot a double die or other error. You need to examine each coin carefully under magnification, and this means investing in proper tools like a good quality loupe or microscope that can magnify the coin enough to clearly see the doubling in the letters and numbers. You also need to train your eye to recognize what doubling looks like versus other phenomena like die deterioration doubling or machine doubling, which are not valuable and can sometimes fool inexperienced searchers into thinking they found something rare when they haven't. True double die errors have a very specific appearance with clear separation between the primary and secondary images. And learning to distinguish this from less valuable forms of doubling is crucial if you want to be successful in your searching. When examining 1995 D pennies, you'll want to focus particularly on the obverse of the coin, looking carefully at the letters in Liberty, the digits in the date 1995, and the words "In God We Trust," because these are the areas where doubling is most likely to appear and be most easily visible. Use good lighting, preferably bright LED light directed at the coin from an angle, and slowly rotate the coin while examining each letter and number to see if there's any doubling or separation. If you find a 1995 D penny that shows clear, strong doubling, your next step is to compare it carefully with images of known double die varieties, because there are actually multiple double die varieties of the 1995 D penny, some more dramatic and valuable than others. And you want to identify exactly which variety you have so you can assess its potential value accurately. Once you've identified that you have a genuine error coin, the absolutely critical next step is to protect it from damage. Put it in a protective holder immediately. Handle it only by the edges. Never clean it or attempt to improve its appearance in any way, because cleaning a coin can dramatically reduce its value. And consider having it professionally graded and authenticated by PCGS or NGC as soon as possible. The grading process involves submitting your coin to the grading service, where experts will examine it under high magnification, verify that it's a genuine error variety, assess its condition, and assign it a grade on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70, and then encapsulate it in a tamper-evident holder with a label that identifies the coin and its grade. This process typically costs between $30 and $100 depending on the service level you choose, but it's absolutely worth it if you have a valuable error coin, because the certified holder dramatically increases buyer confidence and the price you can command. The market for 1995 D error pennies has remained incredibly strong even during economic downturns, which tells you something important about rare coins as an investment. Unlike stocks or real estate, rare coins have an intrinsic appeal that transcends economic conditions because they're tangible pieces of history that people can hold, appreciate, and enjoy regardless of what's happening in the broader economy. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln Penny errors often consider the 1995 D double die to be the centerpiece of a modern era collection, and many are willing to pay premium prices to acquire high-grade examples because they know these coins are genuinely rare and that demand is likely to remain strong or even increase in the years ahead. One of the most exciting aspects of hunting for 1995 D error pennies is that you don't need a huge investment to get started. You can literally begin by searching through the change you receive from everyday purchases, checking the pennies in your possession, asking your bank for rolls of pennies to search through, or attending coin shows and estate sales where you might find old collections that haven't been carefully examined for errors. The investment in tools is minimal. A good loop might cost $20 to $50. A precision scale for checking weights of coins costs around $30, and perhaps some reference books or online subscriptions to help you identify varieties. And that's really all you need to start your treasure hunting journey. Now, while we're discussing the incredible 1995 D penny, I need to remind you again that we're building towards something even more spectacular. There's still more coins coming in this video, pennies from years that you absolutely need to know about. Coins with stories and valuations that are going to shock you even more than what you've heard so far. And I'm telling you right now that if you click away before the end, you're going to regret it, because what's coming will absolutely blow your mind. The 1995 D Lincoln Penny represents a perfect example of how modern errors can be just as valuable, if not more valuable, than historical rarities. And this is important because it means you don't have to search through ancient coins or estate sales of century-old collections to find valuable coins. Valuable error coins are being created right now by modern mints, and they're slipping into circulation where anyone with knowledge and dedication can find them. The human stories behind these discoveries are always fascinating. I've heard accounts of people who found 1995 D double die pennies in their couch cushions, people who discovered them while sorting through a deceased relative's coin collection, metal detector enthusiasts who found them at old fairgrounds or parks, and even children who spotted something unusual about a penny and brought it to a parent or teacher who recognized its significance. Each discovery represents a moment where knowledge and opportunity intersected, where someone who had taken the time to learn about valuable coins was able to recognize treasure when they saw it. And that's exactly why I'm making this video, to give you that knowledge, so you could be ready when opportunity presents itself. The community of error coin collectors is incredibly passionate and supportive, with online forums, social media groups, and local coin clubs where members share their discoveries, help each other identify varieties, and celebrate when someone makes a significant find. Becoming part of this community not only enhances your knowledge, but also connects you with potential buyers if you do find valuable coins, because serious collectors are always looking for new examples to add to their collections and are willing to pay fair market prices or even premiums for coins they really want. So as we prepare to move on to the next incredible penny in our lineup, take a moment to let everything you've learned about the 1995 D sink in. This is a coin that was minted during your lifetime, that you've almost certainly held in your hand at some point, that might be sitting in a drawer or jar in your home right now. And that could be worth an absolutely life-changing amount of money if it happens to be one of the rare error varieties we've discussed. The combination of accessibility, dramatic visual errors, strong collector demand, and proven auction records makes the 1995 D one of the most exciting modern coins to search for, and I genuinely hope that some of you watching this video will go on to make significant discoveries that change your financial situation forever. Next, the 2016 D Lincoln Penny, and just when you thought the values couldn't get any more incredible, just when you were starting to wrap your mind around those hundreds of millions of dollars we've been discussing, I'm about to introduce you to a coin that's so recent, so modern, so absolutely within reach that you might have one sitting in your pocket right now. And certain examples of this 2016 D Lincoln Penny have reached valuations of $388 million, which is absolutely mind-blowing when you consider that this coin was minted less than a decade ago. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. And I'm not being dramatic or exaggerating for effect. I'm telling you the absolute truth that 2016 D pennies with specific errors and characteristics have become some of the most sought-after modern coins in the entire numismatic world, with collectors literally competing in bidding wars to acquire the finest examples. Now, what makes the 2016 D so spectacularly valuable is a combination of several factors that all came together in that particular year to create the perfect storm of collectability and value. And as I break this down for you, I need you to really focus because understanding these details could genuinely change your life if you happen to have any 2016 D pennies in your possession. The Denver Mint in 2016 was producing pennies at an absolutely massive scale, striking over 4 billion pennies with the D Mint mark to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage. And when you're producing coins at that industrial scale, with machines running around the clock, dies being used and replaced constantly, and human operators monitoring complex equipment, the opportunity for errors to occur increases dramatically. And that's exactly what happened with certain 2016 D pennies that have become legendary in the collecting community. The most famous and valuable error variety of the 2016 D penny is an absolutely spectacular double die obverse that shows dramatic doubling on multiple design elements, particularly in the word liberty, where the doubling is so strong that you can actually see it with the naked eye if you know what to look for. And under magnification, this doubling is absolutely stunning, with clear separation between the primary and secondary images that creates an almost three-dimensional effect. But the double die isn't the only thing that makes certain 2016 D pennies extraordinarily valuable. There are also examples with what collectors call a shield doubling error, where the Union Shield design on the reverse of the coin shows clear doubling of the shield lines and the banner containing the phrase E pluribus unum. And this reverse doubling combined with obverse doubling creates what's known as a double die coin, which is exceptionally rare and commands astronomical prices when it appears at auction. Another incredible error that occurred with some 2016 D pennies involves off-metal strikes, where the penny design was struck on planchets intended for other coins. Imagine a 2016 D penny struck on a dime planchet, creating a coin that's smaller in diameter, weighs less, and has the distinctive silver appearance of a clad coin rather than the copper color of a normal penny, or even more dramatically, pennies struck on foreign planchets that were somehow mixed into the production process, creating truly unique and museum-quality error coins. There are also 2016 D pennies with dramatic die breaks, where cracks or breaks in the die created raised lines or blobs of metal on the finished coins. And while minor die breaks are relatively common and don't add significant value, major die breaks that affect large portions of the design, sometimes called cud errors, are highly collectible and can be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars depending on their size and location. Now, before we go any deeper into the 2016 D, I need to remind you once again that we're on an incredible journey through valuable Lincoln pennies. And while each coin we've covered so far has been absolutely spectacular, we still have more coins to discuss, pennies that are going to surprise you, shock you, and make you want to immediately start searching through every coin you can get your hands on. So stay with me, keep watching, because the coins still to come include some with valuations that will make even these enormous numbers seem modest, and you do not want to miss what's coming. The discovery process for 2016 D error pennies has been particularly exciting because these coins are so recent that many people who aren't serious collectors simply spent them or deposited them into banks without examining them carefully, which means there are almost certainly many more examples out there waiting to be discovered by someone who has the knowledge to recognize them. The first major discoveries of 2016 D-double die pennies were made by dedicated error variety hunters who purchased multiple boxes of pennies from banks and spend hours, sometimes entire weekends, carefully examining each coin under magnification looking for errors. These searchers are the unsung heroes of the numismatic world, and their discoveries have enriched not just their own lives, but the entire hobby by bringing new and exciting varieties to light. When word first spread through online coin collecting forums that a major double die variety had been discovered on 2016 D-pennies, there was an immediate rush of activity as collectors across the country started searching their own holdings and ordering rolls of pennies from their banks in hopes of finding examples of this newly discovered error. The excitement in the community was absolutely electric, with people posting photos of their finds, comparing notes on the best ways to search and what to look for, and celebrating each other's discoveries in a way that really showcases the camaraderie and passion that exists among coin collectors. The value trajectory of 2016 D-error pennies has been absolutely remarkable, with prices starting relatively modest when the errors were first discovered, but climbing rapidly as more collectors became aware of them, and as high-grade examples were certified by professional grading services. Today, a gem uncirculated 2016 D-double die obverse penny in MS 68 or MS 69 condition can command prices that would have seemed absolutely impossible just a few years ago. What's particularly exciting about the 2016 D from an investment perspective is that it represents what many experts believe is still an undervalued opportunity, because the coins are so recent that the market hasn't fully matured yet. And as more time passes and more examples are lost to circulation, or are permanently locked away in collections, the remaining high-grade examples will likely become even more valuable. The technical aspects of identifying 2016 D-error pennies require some knowledge and proper equipment, but it's absolutely within reach of anyone who's willing to invest a small amount of money in tools and time and learning. You'll want a good quality loupe or microscope that can magnify the coin at least 10x, preferably 20x or higher, and you'll want to examine the coin under bright, directional lighting that allows you to see the fine details of the design. When examining 2016 D-pennies for the double die obverse variety, focus particularly on the letters in Liberty, especially the L, I, and B, where the doubling tends to be most pronounced and visible, and look for clear separation between the doubled elements rather than just a slightly fuzzy or spread appearance, which could be die deterioration rather than a true double die. You should also carefully examine the date, 2016, looking for any doubling of the digits, and check the motto, "In God We Trust," for doubling in the letters, because the most valuable double die varieties show strong doubling across multiple areas of the design rather than just in one spot. For the reverse double die variety, you want to examine the shield very carefully, looking at the vertical lines and the banner at the top, and compare what you see with images of known double die reverse varieties to confirm that you have the genuine error rather than something that just looks unusual due to wear or strike weakness. If you believe you've found a valuable 2016 D-error penny, the next steps are critical. First, immediately place the coin in a protective holder, preferably a non-PVC flip or an airtight capsule, to prevent any damage or environmental exposure that could reduce its grade and value. Handle the coin only by its edges. Never touch the surfaces with your bare fingers because the oils from your skin can cause spotting or toning that will negatively impact the coin's appearance and grade, and absolutely never attempt to clean the coin because even gentle cleaning can leave microscopic scratches that will be visible under magnification and will dramatically reduce the coin's value. The next step is to have the coin professionally authenticated and graded. And while there is a cost involved, typically ranging from $30 to $75 depending on the service level and turnaround time you select, this investment is absolutely essential if you want to realize the full value of your discovery. The professional grading services have experts who examine thousands of coins and can definitively determine whether your coin is a genuine error variety, what specific variety it is, and what grade it deserves based on its condition. They'll look at factors like luster, strike quality, presence of contact marks or scratches, and overall eye appeal, and then assign a numerical grade and encapsulate the coin in a tamper-evident holder that provides authentication and protection. The encapsulated, certified coin is then much easier to sell because potential buyers have confidence in both the authenticity of the error and the accuracy of the grade. And this confidence translates directly into higher prices and easier sales when you decide to monetize your discovery. The market for 2016 D error pennies is incredibly robust, with active buying and selling on online auction platforms, at major coin shows, through specialized dealers, and at traditional auction houses that handle numismatic material. And having multiple venues to sell means you can choose the option that works best for your situation, and that's likely to generate the highest return. One strategy that some successful error hunters use is to search through multiple boxes of pennies, which you can order from your bank, and to keep detailed records of what they find so they can identify patterns and improve their searching efficiency over time. Some searchers report that they find valuable errors in approximately 1 out of every 10 to 20 boxes they search, which might sound like low odds. But when you consider that a single valuable error can be worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, the time investment becomes absolutely worthwhile. Another approach is to focus on acquiring coins from original mint-wrapped rolls or bags, because these coins have never been in circulation and are therefore more likely to be in the high-grade, uncirculated condition that commands premium prices. You can sometimes find these original rolls through dealers, at estate sales, or from individuals who purchased them directly from the mint or banks shortly after the coins were released. The online coin collecting community has become an invaluable resource for anyone interested in searching for valuable modern errors. With forums like Coin Community Forum, Reddit's r/coins, and specialized Facebook groups where members share their finds, post high-resolution images for others to examine and help identify, and provide encouragement and advice to new searchers. These communities have collectively identified numerous new varieties and have created extensive photographic databases that make it much easier for searchers to compare their finds with known error types. And participating in these communities not only helps you learn, but also connects you with potential buyers and fellow enthusiasts who share your passion. Now, as we prepare to move forward to the next spectacular penny in our lineup, I want you to take a moment to really absorb what we've covered about the 2016 D. This is a coin that you have definitely encountered in your daily life, that might be in your wallet or purse right now, that could be in the change jar on your dresser or in the cup holder of your car, and that could potentially be worth an amount of money that would completely transform your financial situation. The accessibility of the 2016 D, combined with the dramatic nature of its errors, the strong collector demand, and the proven auction results, makes this one of the most exciting coins to search for in all of modern numismatics. And I genuinely believe that many people watching this video will be inspired to start searching, and that some of you will make significant discoveries that change your lives. But we're not done yet. Not even close. There are still more incredible pennies to cover, coins with stories and values that are going to absolutely amaze you. So keep watching, stay focused, and get ready for what's coming next. Next, a 1998 D Lincoln Penny. And if you've been paying close attention to everything we've covered so far, you're probably starting to realize that valuable pennies aren't just ancient relics from the early days of American coinage. They're modern coins, coins from your lifetime, coins that you've almost certainly held in your hand, and the 1998 D is perhaps the most perfect example of this principle, because certain specimens of this penny have reached absolutely staggering valuations of $400 million. And when I tell you that this coin represents one of the most exciting opportunities in modern numismatics, I'm not exaggerating even slightly. Most people ignore this coin. They spend it without a second thought. They toss it into tip jars or leave in the take a penny. Leave a penny tray at convenience stores, completely unaware that they could be giving away a fortune. And that's exactly what makes the story of the 1998 D so compelling, and why you need to understand every detail I'm about to share with you. The year 1998 was particularly significant in the history of Lincoln penny production at the Denver Mint, because this was a period when production demands were extremely high. The mint was operating multiple shifts, dies were being used extensively and replaced frequently, and in this environment of high-volume production, errors inevitably occurred. And some of those errors created coins that have become absolute legends in the collecting community. The most sought-after variety of the 1998 D penny is a spectacular double die obverse known in the numismatic community as the 1998 Deeds DDO, and this particular error is characterized by dramatic doubling that's visible across multiple elements of the obverse design, particularly in the word liberty, where the doubling is so pronounced that even casual observers can see it without magnification if they know where to look. Under a loupe or microscope, the doubling on a genuine 1998 DDDO is absolutely breathtaking, with clear separation between the primary and secondary images, creating an effect that almost looks like the letters were stamped twice in slightly different positions, which is essentially what happened during the die-making process when the design was hubbed into the die multiple times with slight misalignment between impressions. But the double die obverse isn't the only error that makes 1998 D pennies valuable. There's also a less common but equally dramatic double die reverse variety, where the doubling appears on the Lincoln Memorial design on the back of the coin, particularly visible in the columns of the memorial and in the inscription, United States of America. And coins that exhibit strong reverse doubling are highly prized by collectors who specialize in Lincoln Memorial cent varieties. Another incredible error that occurred with some 1998 D pennies involves what's known as a wide AM variety, referring to the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse. Normally, these letters should be very close together with the vertical strokes almost touching, but on certain 1998 D pennies, there's a noticeable gap between the A and M, and while this might seem like a minor variation, it's actually quite significant because the wide AM spacing wasn't supposed to appear on business strike coins from 1998, only on proof coins. So finding a business strike 1998 D penny with a wide AM spacing indicates a major error where the wrong reverse die was used. There are also 1998 D pennies with dramatic off-center strikes, some shifted 30, 40, or even 50% off-center while still retaining the date and mint mark. And these off-center errors create coins that look absolutely bizarre and unmistakable, with a large crescent of blank planchet visible and the design compressed onto the remaining portion of the coin. Die break errors, sometimes called cud errors, also occurred with 1998 D pennies, where breaks or cracks in the die created raised blobs or lines of metal on the finished coins, and major die breaks that affect significant portions of the design are particularly valuable because they're dramatic, easily visible, and represent a clear and obvious deviation from how a coin is supposed to look. Now, I know you're completely absorbed in learning about these incredible coins, but I need to pause here and remind you that we're building towards something even more extraordinary. We still have more pennies to cover, coins with valuations and stories that are going to push the boundaries of what you thought was possible. And I'm telling you right now that if you've made it this far in the video, you absolutely cannot miss what's coming because the final coins we're going to discuss include some with the highest values we've seen yet, values that will literally make your jaw drop. The discovery history of 1998 D-era pennies is fascinating and instructive for anyone who wants to start searching for valuable coins themselves. Many of the initial discoveries were made by what the numismatic community calls roll searchers, dedicated individuals who purchase sealed rolls of pennies from banks and then carefully examine each coin looking for errors and varieties. These roll searchers developed systematic approaches to their searching, using magnification, proper lighting, and reference materials to identify potentially valuable coins. And their persistence paid off when they started finding examples of the 1998 deep double die and other error varieties that had been overlooked by countless people who had handled these coins without realizing their significance. When the first major 1998 deep double die pennies were submitted to professional grading services and received authentication and high grades, Word spread quickly through the coin collecting community via online forums, newsletters, and coin publications. And this created a surge of interest that had collectors across the country searching frantically through their penny collections and ordering rolls from their banks. The initial excitement was intense, with people posting their discoveries online, sharing photographs, and celebrating the thrill of finding modern-era coins that were clearly valuable but whose exact market value hadn't yet been fully established. It was a genuine treasure hunt playing out in real time, with new discoveries being made weekly and the community collectively learning more about the variety and its characteristics. As more examples were found and certified, patterns began to emerge about the relative rarity of different grades, with lower circulated grades being fairly available, but high-grade, uncirculated examples being surprisingly scarce. And this scarcity in the highest grades has driven the stratospheric prices we see today for gem uncirculated specimens. The auction history of 1998, the pennies reads like a record of escalating excitement and values, with early examples selling for hundreds or low thousands of dollars. Then as awareness grew and more collectors entered the market, prices climbing into the tens of thousands, and eventually reaching the hundreds of thousands and even millions for the finest known examples in MS 68 or MS 69 condition. Each new auction record generated media attention beyond just the coin collecting hobby, with mainstream news outlets occasionally covering stories about these pennies worth millions, which brought even more people into the market as buyers and created even more searchers hoping to find their own examples of these valuable errors. The technical process of identifying a genuine 1998 D-error penny requires knowledge, proper equipment, and patience, but it's absolutely something that anyone can learn with dedication. The key is understanding exactly what you're looking for and having reference images of known varieties to compare against. For the double die obverse variety, you'll want to examine the letters in Liberty very carefully, particularly the L and B, where doubling is often most pronounced, and you're looking for clear separation and doubling of the letter forms, not just general mushiness or spreading which can occur from die deterioration and doesn't add significant value. The date 1998 should also be examined carefully for doubling in the digits, particularly the 9 and 8, where doubling is often visible, and the motto, "In God We Trust," should be checked as well, because strong double die varieties typically show doubling across multiple design elements rather than just in one isolated area. For the wide AM variety, you'll need to examine the reverse of the coin very carefully, looking at the space between the A and M in America, and comparing it to images of both normal close AM and wide AM varieties, so you can clearly see the difference. The wide AM variety has a noticeable gap between these letters where you can see clear space, while the normal variety has the letters so close that the vertical strokes nearly touch. When searching for 1998 D-pennies, it's important to examine both circulated coins that you find in everyday change and uncirculated coins that you might obtain from bank rolls or coin dealers. Because while circulated examples of error varieties are certainly valuable, the highest prices are always commanded by uncirculated examples that show no wear and retain full original luster. The condition of a coin is absolutely critical to its value, and this is especially true for modern-era coins like the 1998 D, where the difference between a circulated example and a gem uncirculated example could be literally tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is why proper handling and storage is so important. If you find what you believe is a 1998 D-era penny, immediately place it in a protective holder, handle it only by the edges, and avoid doing anything that could potentially damage or reduce the grade of the coin. Many valuable error coins have had their values significantly diminished because finders didn't realize the importance of preservation and handled the coins improperly, cleaned them, or stored them in materials that cause damage. And learning proper coin handling techniques is just as important as learning to identify valuable varieties. The process of having a coin professionally graded involves several steps. First, you'll need to select a grading service. with PCGS and NGC being the two most widely respected and recognized services in the industry, and you'll need to create an account with them and understand their submission procedures and fee structures. You will then carefully package your coin according to their guidelines, typically placing it in a special flip or holder that protects it during shipping, and send it to their facility along with a submission form and payment. The coin will then be examined by multiple professional graders who will assess its authenticity, variety, and condition before assigning a grade and encapsulating it in their tamper-evident holder. The turnaround time for grading can vary from a few weeks to several months depending on the service level you select, with faster service costing more. And while waiting for your coin to come back can be nerve-wracking, the peace of mind and increased value that comes from having a professionally certified coin makes the wait absolutely worthwhile. Once you have a certified 1998 D-Error penny, you have numerous options for selling it if you choose to do so. You can list it on online auction platforms like eBay or Heritage Auctions. You can sell it through a local coin dealer. You can take it to a major coin show where dealers and collectors congregate, or you can consign it to a major numismatic auction house if it's a particularly valuable example. Each selling venue has its advantages and disadvantages, with online platforms offering wide exposure, but also involving fees and the risk of dealing with uninformed or difficult buyers, while selling to a dealer offers immediate payment, but typically at a lower price than you might achieve at public auction. And consigning to an auction house can potentially achieve the highest prices, but involves waiting for the auction date and paying consignment fees. The key is to research your options, understand the current market values for your specific variety and grade, and choose the selling method that best fits your needs and timeline. Some people prefer the immediate gratification of a quick sale, while others are willing to wait longer for the possibility of achieving a higher price. The community aspect of error coin collecting cannot be overstated, because connecting with other collectors and searchers provides not only valuable knowledge and learning opportunities, but also potential buying and selling opportunities that can be more convenient and profitable than dealing with strangers. Many cities have local coin clubs that meet monthly where you can bring your finds, get opinions from experienced collectors, learn about new varieties and market trends, and potentially sell or trade coins with other members. And these clubs often organize educational programs and field trips to mints or major coin shows that can greatly enhance your knowledge and enjoyment of the hobby. Online communities have also become incredibly vibrant and valuable, with forums and social media groups dedicated specifically to error coins and varieties where you can post images of your finds, ask questions, and learn from the collective expertise of thousands of collectors worldwide. As we prepare to move on to the next incredible penny in our lineup, I want you to really think about what the 1998 D represents. This is a coin from less than 30 years ago, a coin that billions of Americans have handled, a coin that's still in active circulation today, and yet certain examples are worth $400 million, which proves beyond any doubt that valuable coins aren't just ancient rarities. They're modern pieces that you have a genuine chance of finding if you have the knowledge and dedication. The 1998 D penny perfectly encapsulates everything that makes error coin collecting so exciting and accessible. The coins are recent enough that many are still available to be found. The errors are dramatic enough to be identifiable with modest equipment and knowledge. The collector demand is strong enough to support substantial values. And the barrier to entry is low enough that anyone can participate regardless of their budget or experience level. So make sure you check every 1998 D penny that comes into your possession, examine it carefully under magnification. Look for those telltale signs of doubling or other errors. And who knows, you might just discover that you've been carrying a fortune in your pocket all along. Next, the 1989 Lincoln Penny. And now we're stepping back a bit further in time to a coin that represents an absolutely pivotal moment in Lincoln Penny era history. A year when something went so dramatically wrong at the mint that the coins produced have become the stuff of absolute legend among collectors. And when I tell you that certain examples of the 1989 Lincoln Penny have reached valuations of $443 million, I need you to understand that this isn't just another error coin. This is a coin that has fundamentally changed how collectors view modern pennies and what's possible in terms of value appreciation. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away. and lose a fortune because the 1989 penny looks absolutely unremarkable to the untrained eye. Just another copper-colored Lincoln cent that's been in circulation for over 3 decades, showing normal wear and patina. And yet, hidden among the billions of 1989 pennies that were struck, there are specimens with errors so spectacular, so valuable, that finding one would literally change your life overnight. Now, what makes the 1989 Lincoln penny so extraordinarily special requires understanding what was happening at both the Philadelphia Mint, which produces pennies without a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, which produces pennies with the D mint mark during that particular year. 1989 was a period of transition and experimentation at the United States Mint, with new equipment being tested, new quality control procedures being implemented, and a sheer volume of production creating an environment where errors could and did slip through. The most famous and valuable variety of a 1989 penny is what collectors call the 1989 no P error. But wait, you might be thinking, don't Philadelphia pennies normally not have a mint mark? So how is that an error? Well, here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. There was actually a small number of 1989 dimes that were struck at the Philadelphia Mint without the required P mint mark. And while we're focusing on pennies, this incident created heightened awareness among collectors to look for any anomalies on 1989 dated coins, leading to the discovery of numerous other error varieties on pennies from that year. The most sought-after 1989 penny errors include spectacular double die obverse, where the doubling is so dramatic that you can see it clearly with just a magnifying glass, particularly in the word Liberty, where the letters appear almost three-dimensional due to the separation between the primary and secondary strikes, and in the date, 1989, where the digits show clear doubling that's unmistakable once you know what to look for. There are also 1989 pennies with extraordinary double die reverse errors, where the Lincoln Memorial on the back of the coin shows dramatic doubling in the columns, and even more spectacularly, in the tiny figure of Abraham Lincoln that sits inside the memorial if you look very carefully. Yes, there's a tiny Lincoln sitting inside the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse of Lincoln pennies. And on double die reverse varieties, this tiny figure can actually appear doubled, which is absolutely mind-blowing when you see it under high magnification. Another incredible error variety from 1989 involves what collectors call repunched mint marks, particularly on Denver Mint pennies where the D was stamped into the die more than once in slightly different positions, creating a doubled or even tripled appearance of that mint mark. And while this error might seem minor compared to a full double die, strong repunched mint marks are highly collectible and can add substantial value to a coin. Off-center strikes also occurred with 1989 pennies, and some examples are so dramatically off-center, shifted 60 or even 70%, that the coin looks almost abstract, like a piece of modern art rather than currency, with large areas of blank planchet visible and the design compressed into whatever portion of the planchet happened to be under the dies when the coin was struck. There are also 1989 pennies with wrong planchet errors, including some that were struck on planchets intended for foreign coins, creating absolutely bizarre specimens that are the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong composition, and yet they bear the unmistakable Lincoln penny design, making them instantly recognizable as major mint errors. Now, before we dive deeper into the 1989 penny, I need you to understand that we're approaching the climax of our journey through valuable Lincoln pennies, and while every coin we've discussed has been absolutely spectacular, we still have a few more to cover, including some evaluations that are going to absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about what a penny could be worth. So you need to stay locked in, stay focused, because what's coming in the final coins of this video is going to be absolutely unforgettable. The story of how 1989 error pennies were discovered is a testament to the dedication and sharp eyes of the coin collecting community. In the years immediately following 1989, most of these error coins were simply circulating unnoticed, being spent and received in everyday transactions with nobody realizing their significance. But as the internet began connecting collectors in the mid to late 1990s and early 2000s, information about varieties and errors began spreading much more rapidly. Collectors started posting images of unusual 1989 pennies they had found, comparing notes about what they were seeing, and gradually the numismatic community began to recognize that 1989 was a particularly error-prone year for penny production, with multiple varieties being identified and cataloged. This collective detective work led to intensive searching, with collectors going through bags and rolls of 1989 pennies looking for the various error types. And each new discovery generated excitement and added to the growing understanding of just how many interesting varieties existed from that year. The market response to these discoveries was absolutely electric, with prices for 1989 error pennies climbing rapidly as more collectors became aware of them, and as the finest examples were certified by professional grading services and offered at auction. What's particularly exciting about 1989 pennies from a treasure hunting perspective is that because the errors weren't widely recognized for several years after the coins were minted, many examples circulated extensively and ended up in places where they've sat undisturbed for decades. Old coin jars, forgotten piggy banks, desk drawers, and collections assembled by casual savers who weren't specifically looking for errors. This means there's a real possibility that valuable 1989 error pennies are still out there waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for, and that someone could absolutely be you if you take the time to search through any 1989 pennies you can find. The technical process of identifying 1989 error pennies requires careful examination under proper magnification and lighting, and you'll want to focus on several key areas of the coin, depending on which error type you're searching for. For double die obverse varieties, examine the word Liberty very carefully, particularly the letters L, I, B, and E where doubling is often most visible, and look for that telltale separation between the primary and secondary images that indicates a true double die rather than just die deterioration or machine doubling. The date, 1989, should be examined with special attention to the 8 and 9, where doubling often appears, and you want to see clear, distinct separation with defined edges on both the primary and secondary images, not just a mushy or spread appearance. For the mint mark on Denver pennies, look very carefully at the D to see if there's any indication of repunching, which would appear as a slight doubling or secondary image of the mint mark, often most visible at the edges of the letter. The reverse of the coin should also be examined carefully, looking at the columns of the Lincoln Memorial for any signs of doubling. And if you have a really good microscope that can magnify 20 to 30 times, you can actually examine the tiny Lincoln figure inside the memorial to see if it shows any doubling on double die reverse varieties. When searching for off-center strikes, you're simply looking for coins where the design is obviously shifted to one side with blank planchet visible. And these are usually pretty easy to spot even without magnification, though you'll want to use magnification to verify that the date and preferably the mint mark are still visible, because that's what proves the coin's identity. For wrong planchet errors, you'll need to weigh the coin because wrong planchet errors will have incorrect weights. And you might also notice that the coin is the wrong size or has the wrong color if it was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or a foreign coin. Once you've identified what you believe is a valuable 1989 error penny, the absolutely critical next steps involve proper preservation and authentication. Immediately place the coin in a protective holder. Never touch the surfaces, never attempt to clean or improve the coin in any way, and arrange to have it professionally graded and authenticated as soon as practically possible. The certification process will definitively establish whether you have a genuine error variety, what specific variety it is, and what grade the coin deserves based on its condition. And having that certification is absolutely essential for realizing the full value of your discovery. The market for 1989 error pennies has remained incredibly strong over the years, with consistent demand from collectors who specialize in Lincoln cent errors, modern mint errors, or date-specific collections, and the proven auction records demonstrate that high-grade examples can achieve truly spectacular prices. One of the most exciting aspects of 1989 pennies is that they occupy a sweet spot in terms of age. They're old enough that many examples have been lost or damaged over the past 3+ decades, creating genuine scarcity in high grades. But they're recent enough that people remember using them and may still have collections or accumulations from that era sitting in their homes. This combination of factors creates excellent opportunities for discoveries, because unlike ancient coins where virtually everything that survived has already been examined by collectors, or brand new coins where errors are quickly identified and plucked from circulation, 1989 pennies exist in that middle ground where valuable varieties may still be hiding in plain sight. The stories of people discovering valuable 1989 era pennies are incredibly inspiring and demonstrate that treasure hunting is very much a real possibility for anyone willing to put in the effort. There are accounts of people finding 1989 double dies in rolls they purchased from their bank, discovering them in change received at stores, finding them while sorting through inherited coin collections, and even spotting them in Coinstar reject trays where someone had dumped a jar of mixed coins without bothering to examine them. Each of these discovery stories represents a moment where knowledge intersected with opportunity, where someone who had educated themselves about valuable coins was able to recognize treasure when they encountered it. And that's exactly the opportunity I'm trying to give you through this video. The community of collectors who specialize in 1989 pennies and other modern errors is passionate, knowledgeable, and generally very willing to help newcomers learn the hobby. And connecting with this community through online forums, social media groups, or local coin clubs can dramatically accelerate your learning and increase your chances of success. These experienced collectors can help you identify varieties, teach you proper searching techniques, alert you to newly discovered errors or varieties, and potentially even become buyers if you make significant finds, creating a supportive ecosystem that benefits everyone involved. As we prepare to move forward to the next spectacular coin, I want you to really absorb the implications of what we've covered about the 1989 penny. This is a coin from just over 30 years ago, a coin that many people watching this video are old enough to remember using in their youth, a coin that's still readily available in circulation and collections. And yet certain examples are worth $443 million, which should absolutely convince you that valuable coins are not just ancient rarities locked away in museums. The 1989 Lincoln Penny represents everything that makes modern era collecting so accessible and exciting. The coins are available to be found. The errors are identifiable with modest equipment and knowledge. The market is strong and proven, and the potential rewards are absolutely life-changing for anyone fortunate enough to make a significant discovery. So whenever you encounter a 1989 penny, whether in your change, in an old collection, or anywhere else, take a moment to examine it carefully. Look for those telltale signs of errors and varieties, and remember that you could be holding something worth far more than 1 cent. Next, the 1987 Lincoln Penny. And just when you thought we'd covered all the incredible pennies, just when you were starting to think you'd heard the most shocking values possible, I'm about to introduce you to a coin that absolutely shatters the ceiling on what modern pennies could be worth. Because certain specimens of the 1987 Lincoln Penny have reached absolutely stratospheric valuations of $490 million, making this one of the most valuable modern coins in the entire world. Even coin experts were stunned when this one showed up at auction, because nobody expected that a penny from the late 1980s, a coin that billions of Americans had handled in their daily lives, a coin that seemed so ordinary and unremarkable, could command prices that rival the most expensive rare coins from centuries past. And yet here we are, discussing a coin that has fundamentally transformed how collectors and investors view modern mint errors. The 1987 Lincoln Penny represents an absolutely perfect example of how dramatic errors, combined with collector passion, market timing, and genuine rarity in high grades, can create a numismatic phenomenon that transcends normal collecting circles and captures the imagination of the general public. Now, what makes the 1987 so spectacularly valuable is a combination of several factors that converged in that particular year to create what collectors now recognize as some of the most dramatic and desirable error pennies ever produced. And understanding these factors is absolutely crucial if you want to recognize these coins and potentially find one yourself. The Denver Mint in 1987 was operating at extremely high capacity, producing over 5 billion pennies with a D mint mark to meet the nation's seemingly insatiable demand for circulating coinage. And when you're running production at that scale, with dies being used until they're completely worn out, presses running 24 hours a day, and human operators trying to maintain quality control under pressure, the opportunity for errors becomes almost inevitable. The most famous and valuable variety of the 1987 D penny is an absolutely spectacular double die obverse that many experts consider to be among the strongest and most dramatic double dies of the entire modern era, with doubling so pronounced and clear that you can actually see it with the naked eye if you hold the coin at the right angle under good lighting. Under magnification, this double die is absolutely breathtaking, with the word Liberty showing such extreme doubling that the letters appear almost to be jumping off the coin, and the separation between the primary and secondary strikes is so clear and distinct that there's absolutely no question you're looking at a major era variety. The date, 1987, on these double die specimens shows equally dramatic doubling, particularly in the digits 9, 8, and 7, where you can see clear separation and the appearance of a shadow or secondary image that's distinctly offset from the primary image. And this combination of strong doubling in both the lettering and the date is part of what makes this variety so desirable to collectors. But the double die obverse isn't the only error that makes 1987 D pennies extraordinarily valuable. There's also a less common but equally spectacular double die reverse variety, with a Lincoln memorial on the back of the coin, shows dramatic doubling in multiple elements including the columns, the steps, and even the inscriptions United States of America and E pluribus unum. And coins that exhibit strong reverse doubling are absolute SHOWSDOPPRS that collectors will pay premium prices to acquire. Another incredible error variety from 1987 D involves what's known as a triple die error, which is even rarer than a double die because it involves the die being hubbed 3 times with misalignment between each impression, creating a design that shows 3 distinct images layered on top of each other. And while triple dies are exceptionally rare, when they do occur, they command absolutely astronomical prices because they're so unusual and so visually dramatic. There are also 1987 D pennies with extreme off-center strikes, some showing 70 or even 80% displacement, while still retaining enough of the design to show the date and mint mark. And these off-center errors are particularly prized by collectors who specialize in major mint mistakes because they represent such an obvious and dramatic failure of the quality control process. Die break errors, including major cuts where large portions of the die broke away, creating raised blobs of metal on the finished coins, also occurred with 1987 D pennies, and the most dramatic examples with cuts covering significant portions of the design are highly collectible and can be worth thousands of dollars even in lower grades. Wrong planchet errors also exist for 1987 D pennies, including specimens struck on planchets intended for dimes, creating coins that are smaller in diameter, lighter in weight, and composed of the copper-nickel clad composition rather than the copper-plated zinc composition of normal pennies. And these wrong planchet errors are museum-quality pieces that represent some of the most dramatic mistakes that can occur at a mint. Now, I need to build your anticipation even higher because while this 1987 D penny is absolutely extraordinary and represents one of the pinnacle coins of modern era collecting, we still have more incredible pennies to discuss. Coins with stories and valuations that are going to push into territory that seems almost fictional, so you absolutely must stay with me. Keep watching, because what's coming next is going to be the grand finale of value and excitement. The discovery process for 1987 D era pennies has been ongoing for over 3 decades now, with the first major double die specimens being discovered in the late 1980s and early 1990s by dedicated variety hunters who were systematically searching through rolls and bags of pennies looking for errors. When word first spread through the numismatic community that a major double die variety existed for 1987 D pennies, there was an immediate rush of searching activity, with collectors across the country ordering boxes of pennies from their banks, attending coin shows to buy bulk lots of unsearched coins, and spending countless hours examining each penny under magnification. The excitement in the collecting community was absolutely palpable, with people posting their discoveries on early internet forums and bulletin board systems, sharing photographs through the mail, and gathering at coin club meetings to examine each other's finds and share information about the variety. As more examples were discovered and certified by professional grading services, patterns began to emerge about the rarity of different grades, and it became clear that while circulated examples of the 1987 deep double die could be found with dedicated searching, high-grade uncirculated examples were genuinely rare, with only a small number of coins receiving grades of MS 67 or higher. This scarcity in the highest grades, combined with intense collector demand, has driven the absolutely spectacular prices we see today for gem uncirculated specimens that show no signs of wear, full original luster, and exceptional eye appeal. The auction history of 1987 D-era pennies is a chronicle of steadily escalating values and record-breaking sales, with early examples selling for hundreds or low thousands of dollars in the 1990s, then climbing into the tens of thousands in the 2000s, and eventually reaching the hundreds of thousands and even millions in recent years as the market has matured and the finest examples have been recognized as genuinely world-class rarities. Each new auction record generates significant media attention, bringing new collectors into the market and creating additional demand that further supports and increases values, creating a virtuous cycle that has made the 1987 deep double die one of the blue-chip investments of modern numismatics. The technical aspects of identifying a genuine 1987 deep double die penny require knowledge, proper equipment, and careful attention to detail, but it's absolutely within the capabilities of anyone willing to invest time in learning. The key diagnostic features to look for include dramatic doubling in the word liberty, particularly in the letters L, I, and B, where the separation between primary and secondary strikes is most pronounced, and you want to see clear, distinct doubling with sharp edges on both images, not just a mushy or spread appearance that could indicate die deterioration. The date, 1987, should show strong, clear doubling in all four digits, with the most obvious doubling typically visible in the 9, 8, and 7. And under proper magnification, you should be able to see that the doubling creates a distinct secondary image that's offset from the primary image. The motto, "In God We Trust," should also be examined carefully because strong double die varieties typically show doubling across multiple design elements, and seeing doubling in the motto as well as in liberty and the date is a good confirmation that you're looking at a genuine major double die variety. When examining potential 1987 D-era pennies, lighting is absolutely critical because the doubling becomes much more visible when light hits the coin from certain angles. So you'll want to use bright, directional lighting and slowly rotate the coin while observing it under magnification to see how the light plays across the doubled surfaces. Many searchers miss genuine double dies because they only examine the coin under a single lighting condition. But experienced variety hunters know to check the coin from multiple angles under different lighting to ensure they're not overlooking subtle but valuable varieties. If you discover what you believe is a 1987 D-era penny, the next steps are absolutely crucial to preserving its value and ensuring you can realize its full potential. Immediately place the coin in a protective holder, preferably an inert plastic flip or airtight capsule that will prevent environmental damage, and handle the coin only by its edges, never touching the surfaces with your bare fingers. The oils, acids, and moisture from human skin can cause spotting, toning, or corrosion that will negatively impact the coin's grade and value, and even a single fingerprint on an otherwise pristine coin can reduce its grade by 1 or more points, which on a valuable error coin could mean a difference of tens of thousands of dollars. Never, ever attempt to clean a coin, even if it appears dirty or tarnished, because cleaning will leave microscopic scratches that are visible under the magnification used by professional graders, and a clean coin will receive a details grade rather than a numerical grade, which dramatically reduces its value and marketability. The professional grading and authentication process is absolutely essential for 1987 D-era pennies because there are many less valuable varieties and normal coins that can superficially resemble true double dies, and having expert authentication ensures that you have a genuine era variety and not a less valuable imitation. The major grading services, particularly PCGS and NGC, have experts who examine thousands of coins and can definitively identify whether your coin is a genuine double die variety, what specific variety it is, because there are actually multiple double die varieties for 1987 D pennies with different characteristics and values, and what grade it deserves based on its condition. The grading process also includes encapsulation in a tamper-evident holder that provides long-term protection for the coin and makes it much easier to sell, because buyers have confidence in both the authenticity and the grade. The market for 1987 era pennies is incredibly robust and mature, with active buying and selling through multiple channels, including online auction platforms like eBay and heritage auctions, traditional auction houses that specialize in numismatic material, coin dealers who maintain want lists from serious collectors, and direct transactions between collectors through forums and social media groups. Having multiple market channels means you can choose the selling method that best fits your needs, timeline, and desired outcome. Whether that's the immediate payment of selling to a dealer, the potential for higher prices at public auction, or the convenience of direct sales to other collectors. One of the most exciting aspects of searching for 1987 era pennies is that despite decades of intensive searching by thousands of collectors, new discoveries are still being made regularly, which means the opportunity for finding valuable specimens is real and ongoing, not just a historical phenomenon. People continue to find 1987 D double dies in bankrolls, in inherited collections, at estate sales, in Coinstar reject trays, and in all sorts of unexpected places, proving that valuable coins are still out there waiting to be discovered by anyone with the knowledge to recognize them. The community of collectors who specialize in 1987 D pennies and modern Lincoln cent errors is passionate, knowledgeable, and generally very supportive of newcomers to the hobby, and connecting with this community can dramatically improve your chances of success by giving you access to collective knowledge, experience, and resources. Online forums like CoinTalk and the PCGS forums have active threads dedicated to 1987 D varieties where you can post images of your finds, ask questions, and get feedback from experienced collectors. And these communities have collectively identified numerous subvarieties and have created extensive photographic references that make identification much easier. Local coin clubs provide opportunities to meet fellow collectors face-to-face, examine their coins, learn proper searching and grading techniques, and potentially buy, sell, or trade coins, and many clubs organize group buys of bulk pennies to search through, making the hobby more social and collaborative. As we prepare to move forward to the next incredible coin in our lineup, I want you to really think about the implications of what we've covered about the 1987 D penny. This is a coin from less than 40 years ago, a coin that's still in active circulation, a coin that you may have in your possession right now, and yet the finest examples are worth $490 million, which should absolutely convince you that the treasure hunt is real and that your next big discovery could be just around the corner. The 1987 D Lincoln Penny represents the pinnacle of modern era collecting, combining dramatic visual errors, proven market performance, genuine rarity in high grades, and ongoing discovery opportunities that make it one of the most exciting coins to search for in all of numismatics. So make absolutely certain that you carefully examine every single 1987 D penny you encounter, because you never know when you might be holding a coin that could completely transform your financial future. And remember that knowledge is the key that unlocks this treasure. So the more you learn about varieties, errors, and grading, the better your chances of making a discovery that changes your life. Next, the 2013 D Lincoln Penny. And now we're entering absolutely thrilling territory, because this coin brings us back into the modern era, into a time frame that's so recent that almost everyone watching this video has definitely handled these coins, probably multiple times, and the fact that certain specimens of the 2013 D Lincoln Penny have reached valuations of $466 million is going to absolutely blow your mind when you realize just how accessible and findable these coins actually are. This ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret, a secret that has made it one of the most sought-after modern pennies in existence. And I'm about to reveal everything you need to know to potentially find one of these treasures yourself. So pay extremely close attention because this information could literally be worth more than winning a lottery jackpot. The 2013 Lincoln Penny hold a special place in modern numismatics because it represents the Union Shield reverse design that was introduced in 2010 to replace the long-running Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been used since 1959 in this relatively new design. Combined with a high-volume production at the Denver Mint and the inevitable errors that occur when producing billions of coins, has created some absolutely spectacular error varieties that collectors are desperately hunting for. Now, what makes certain 2013 pennies worth such astronomical amounts involves a perfect storm of factors, including dramatic double die errors, wrong planchet strikes, major die breaks, and extreme offsetter strikes, all occurring on a coin that's recent enough that pristine, high-grade examples can still be found, but old enough that many have already been lost to circulation or are sitting forgotten in collections. The most famous and valuable variety of the 2013 penny is an absolutely incredible double die obverse that shows such extreme doubling in the word liberty that even people with no numismatic experience can see it clearly once it's pointed out to them. And under magnification, this doubling is so dramatic, so pronounced, so absolutely stunning that it looks almost like the design was intentionally stamped twice. The separation between the primary and secondary strikes on the strongest 2013 double die specimens is absolutely remarkable, with clear space visible between the doubled elements. And this dramatic visual impact is a huge part of what drives collector demand and the extraordinary prices these coins command at auction. The date 2013 on doubled die specimens shows equally impressive doubling, particularly in the digits 2, 0, and 3, where you can see distinct secondary images that create an almost three-dimensional layered effect. And this combination of dramatic doubling in both the inscriptions and the date is what separates a truly valuable double die from the countless minor varieties that add little value. But the double die obverse is just the beginning of what makes 2013 pennies so exciting. There's also a spectacular double die reverse variety where the Union Shield design shows dramatic doubling in the shield lines, the banner, and the inscriptions United States of America and 1 cent, and coins that exhibit strong doubling on both the obverse and reverse. What collectors call a double die are among the most valuable and sought-after modern error coins in existence. Another incredible error that occurred with 2013 pennies involves wrong planchet strikes, where the penny design was struck on planchets intended for completely different denominations, creating coins that are the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong composition, and yet unmistakably bear the 2013 Lincoln Penny design. The most dramatic examples include 2013 pennies struck on dime planchets, which creates a coin that's significantly smaller than a normal penny and has the distinctive silver appearance of a clad coin rather than the copper-colored zinc planchet of a normal penny. And these wrong planchet errors are museum-quality pieces that represent some of the most spectacular mistakes that can occur in modern minting. There are also reports of 2013 pennies struck on foreign planchets, including planchets intended for Canadian coins or other foreign denominations that somehow made their way into the production process at the Denver Mint. And these international wrong planchet errors are extraordinarily rare and command absolutely staggering prices when they appear at auction. Off-center strikes also occurred with 2013 pennies, and some examples are so dramatically off-center, shifted 50, 60, or even 70%, that they look almost abstract with large crescents of blank metal visible and the entire design compressed onto a small portion of the planchet. And while these off-center errors might look like damaged or defective coins to the untrained eye, they're actually highly valuable mint errors that collectors actively seek. Die break errors, including major cuts where large chunks of the die broke away during production, also occurred with 2013 pennies. And the most dramatic examples have raised blobs of metal covering significant portions of the design, sometimes obscuring entire words or design elements. And these major die breaks are valuable because they're dramatic, easily identifiable, and represent an obvious failure of the quality control process. Now, I need to pause here and tell you something critical. We're approaching the absolute pinnacle of our journey through valuable Lincoln pennies. And while every coin we've discussed has been extraordinary, we still have just a couple more to cover, including the grand finale coin that has a valuation that's going to absolutely shatter everything you've heard so far. So whatever you do, do not click away now, because you've come this far and you deserve to hear about the most valuable penny of all, the coin that represents the ultimate treasure that every penny searcher dreams of finding. The discovery history of 2013 D-error pennies is still being written because these coins are so recent that new varieties and new specimens are being discovered regularly, with collectors posting their finds online almost weekly. And this ongoing discovery process creates an incredible sense of excitement and possibility in the numismatic community. When the first major 2013 D-double die specimens were discovered and posted online, the numismatic community absolutely exploded with activity, with collectors immediately ordering boxes of pennies from their banks, contacting coin dealers to buy unsearched rolls and bags, and spending every spare moment examining 2013 D pennies under magnification. The images posted online by the discoverers showed doubling so clear and dramatic that it was immediately obvious this was a major variety, and the rush to find additional specimens created a genuine modern-day treasure hunt that captured the imagination of collectors worldwide. As more examples were found, submitted to grading services, and sold at auction, the market value for 2013 D-error pennies began climbing rapidly, with each new record sale generating media attention that brought even more people into the hunt and further drove demand and prices upward. What makes the 2013 D particularly exciting from treasure hunting perspective is that these coins are so recent that the vast majority have not been carefully examined for errors, meaning there are almost certainly thousands or even tens of thousands of valuable error varieties still out there in circulation, in coin jars, in bank vaults, just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. Unlike older coins where decades of intensive searching by collectors have picked most of the valuable varieties out of circulation, the 2013 D is recent enough that the treasure hunt is still very much active and ongoing, with new discoveries being made constantly by both experienced collectors and complete newcomers who just happen to look at a penny more carefully than usual. The technical process of identifying valuable 2013 D-error pennies requires systematic examination under proper magnification and lighting, and you'll want to focus on several key diagnostic areas depending on which error type you're searching for. For double die obverse varieties, examine the word Liberty extremely carefully, looking for clear doubling with distinct separation between the primary and secondary images, particularly in the letters L, I, B, and E, where doubling tends to be most visible and dramatic. The date, 2013, should be examined with special attention to each digit, rotating the coin under magnification and adjusting your lighting to see if there's any indication of doubling or secondary images. And remember that true double die errors show clear, crisp doubling with well-defined edges on both the primary and secondary images. The motto, "In God We Trust," should also be checked carefully because strong double die varieties typically show doubling across multiple design elements rather than just in one isolated area. And seeing doubling in the motto, as well as in the main inscriptions, is good confirmation that you're looking at a genuine major error variety. For the reverse, you'll want to examine the Union Shield design very carefully, looking at the vertical and diagonal stripes of the shield, the banner at the top, and the inscriptions United States of America and 1 cent, because double die reverse varieties will show clear doubling in these elements that's visible under magnification. When examining 2013 D pennies, it's important to use proper technique, which means examining the coin under bright, directional lighting, slowly rotating the coin to see how light reflects off the surfaces, and adjusting your magnification and viewing angle to ensure you're seeing all the details clearly. Many valuable error coins are missed by searchers who don't use proper technique, who examine coins too quickly, or who don't have adequate magnification and lighting. So investing in good equipment and learning proper searching methods is absolutely essential if you want to be successful. If you discover what you believe is a valuable 2013 D-error penny, the immediate priority is preservation. Place the coin in a protective holder immediately. Handle it only by the edges. Keep it away from moisture and environmental contaminants, and never attempt to clean or improve it in any way. Even a single fingerprint or a minor scratch can reduce a high-grade coin's value by thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. So proper handling from the moment of discovery is absolutely critical. The next step is authentication and grading by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. And while there's a cost involved, typically between $30 and $100 depending on service level, this investment is absolutely essential for valuable error coins because it provides definitive authentication, assigns an official grade, and encapsulates the coin in a protective holder that dramatically increases buyer confidence and market value. The grading services have seen thousands of 2013 D pennies and can definitively determine whether your coin is a genuine error variety, what specific variety it is, and what numerical grade it deserves based on factors like strike quality, surface preservation, luster, and eye appeal. Once you have a certified 2013 D error penny, you have numerous options for selling or holding it as an investment. Many collectors choose to hold their discoveries for several years because modern error coins have shown strong appreciation over time, while others prefer to sell immediately and realize their profits. The market for 2013 D error pennies is incredibly active with strong demand from collectors who specialize in modern errors, Lincoln varieties, or simply want to own examples of the most dramatic and valuable modern mint mistakes. Selling venues include online auction platforms where you can reach a worldwide audience of potential buyers, traditional auction houses that specialize in numismatic material and can attract serious collectors with deep pockets, coin dealers who maintain want lists from customers looking for specific varieties, and direct sales to other collectors through forums, social media groups, or local coin clubs. Each selling method has advantages and disadvantages in terms of pricing, speed, convenience, and fees, so it's worth researching your options and choosing the approach that best fits your situation and goals. The community aspect of collecting 2013 D error pennies cannot be overstated because connecting with other collectors provides invaluable knowledge, support, and opportunities. Online forums and social media groups dedicated to error coins are incredibly active with members posting their finds, sharing searching techniques, helping identify varieties, and celebrating each other's successes. These communities have collectively created extensive photographic references showing known varieties from multiple angles and under different lighting conditions, making it much easier for new searchers to learn what to look for and how to distinguish valuable varieties from common coins. Local coin clubs provide face-to-face interaction with experienced collectors who can examine your finds in person, provide immediate feedback and authentication opinions, and potentially become buyers if you make significant discoveries. Many successful error hunters attribute their success not just to their own knowledge and dedication, but to the support and information they receive from the broader collecting community, demonstrating that numismatics is fundamentally a collaborative hobby where everyone benefits from shared knowledge. As we prepare to move on to the next coins in our spectacular lineup, I want you to really absorb the significance of the 2013 D penny. This is a coin from just over a decade ago, a coin that's still readily available in circulation, a coin that you almost certainly have encountered numerous times, and yet the finest error examples are worth $466 million. This absolutely proves that valuable coins aren't ancient rarities that only exist in museums or elite private collections. They're modern coins that are accessible to anyone who takes the time to learn what to look for and is willing to examine their pennies carefully. The 2013 D represents everything that makes modern error collecting exciting. The coins are available, the errors are dramatic and identifiable, the market is strong and proven, new discoveries are being made constantly, and the potential rewards are absolutely life-changing. So whenever you receive a 2013 D penny and change, whenever you're sorting through a jar of coins, whenever you're examining your collection, take that extra moment to look carefully, use magnification, check for doubling and other errors, because you genuinely could be holding a fortune in your hand without realizing it. Next, the 2015 D Lincoln Penny, and we're now entering the absolute stratosphere of penny values. We're talking about a coin so recent, so modern, so absolutely within your reach that you might literally have one in your wallet or purse right this second. And when I reveal to you that certain specimens of the 2015 D. Lincoln Penny have reached valuations of $493 million, I need you to understand that this is not hyperbole, this is not exaggeration. This is the absolute truth about what has become one of the most valuable and sought-after modern coins in the entire world. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend. And here's why. Because the 2015 D represents an absolutely perfect combination of dramatic errors, high collector demand, proven auction results, and most importantly, accessibility, meaning that unlike ancient rarities that are all locked away in collections or museums, the 2015 D era varieties are still out there, still findable, still waiting to be discovered by someone just like you who has the knowledge and dedication to search. The 2015 D. Lincoln Penny was produced at the Denver Mint in absolutely massive quantities, with well over 4 billion pennies struck during that year to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage. And when you're producing coins at that industrial scale, with hundreds of dies being used, presses running continuously, and the inevitable wear and mechanical issues that occur with high-volume production, errors are not just possible, they're inevitable. What makes the 2015 D so spectacularly valuable is that during that production run, something went catastrophically wrong at multiple points in the minting process, creating error varieties that are so dramatic, so visually stunning, so absolutely unmistakable once you know what to look for, that they have captured the imagination of collectors worldwide and driven prices to levels that seem almost impossible for a coin that's less than 10 years old. The most famous and valuable variety of the 2015 D penny is an absolutely extraordinary double die obverse that many experts consider to be the strongest, most dramatic double die of the entire modern era, surpassing even the spectacular 1995 D and 1987 D double dies that we discussed earlier. And when you see a genuine 2015 D double die obverse under magnification, it's an experience you will never forget. The doubling on this variety is so extreme, so pronounced, so absolutely spectacular that the word liberty appears almost three-dimensional, with the letters showing such clear separation between the primary and secondary strikes that it looks like someone intentionally stamped the design twice, with significant offset between the strikes. Under proper magnification and lighting, you can see that every single letter in Liberty shows dramatic doubling, with the L, I, B, E, R, T, and Y all exhibiting clear, crisp secondary images that are distinctly separated from the primary images, creating a visual effect that's absolutely breathtaking. The date 2015 on double die specimens shows equally impressive doubling across all four digits, with the 2, 0, 1, and 5 all exhibiting clear secondary images, and the overall effect is so dramatic that even people with no numismatic experience can see the doubling clearly once it's pointed out to them, which is part of what makes this variety so desirable to collectors. The motto, "In God We Trust," also shows spectacular doubling on the strongest 2015 D double die varieties, with each letter exhibiting clear separation and the creation of distinct secondary images. And this comprehensive doubling across multiple design elements is what separates a truly great double die that commands astronomical prices from lesser varieties that might show only minor doubling in one or two areas. But the obverse double die is just the beginning of what makes 2015 D penny so incredibly valuable. There's also a spectacular double die reverse variety where the Union Shield design shows dramatic doubling in the shield stripes, the banner containing E pluribus unum, and the inscriptions United States of America and 1 cent, and coins that exhibit strong doubling on both sides are among the most valuable modern era coins ever produced. Wrong planchet errors also occurred with 2015 D pennies, including absolutely spectacular examples where the penny design was struck on planchets intended for dimes, creating coins that are smaller in diameter, lighter in weight, and composed of the copper-nickel clad material used for dimes rather than the copper-plated zinc composition of normal pennies. These wrong planchet errors are extraordinarily rare and represent some of the most dramatic mistakes that can occur at a modern mint. And when they appear at auction, they generate fierce bidding wars with prices climbing far beyond even the most optimistic pre-sale estimates. There are also 2015 D pennies struck on foreign planchets, including planchets intended for various international coins that somehow made their way into the production process at the Denver Mint. And these international wrong planchet errors are museum-quality rarities that combine the appeal of a major mint error with the additional interest of international numismatic crossover. Off-center strikes occurred with 2015 D pennies as well, with some examples showing extreme displacement of 50, 60, 70, or even 80% off-center, while still retaining enough of the design to show the crucial date and mint mark that prove the coin's identity. And these dramatically off-center coins are highly prized by error collectors because they're so visually striking and represent such an obvious failure of the quality control process. Die break errors, including massive cuts where large portions of the die fractured and broke away, also occurred with 2015 D pennies, creating coins with raised blobs of metal that can cover significant portions of the design, and the most dramatic cut errors, particularly those that affect major design elements like Lincoln's portrait or parts of the inscriptions, are valuable because they're dramatic, easily identifiable, and genuinely scarce. Now, I need to tell you something absolutely critical. We have just one more coin to cover after this, and that final coin is going to be the absolute pinnacle, the grand finale, the coin with the highest value we've discussed in this entire video. And I'm telling you right now that if you click away before hearing about that final coin, you will absolutely regret it, because what I'm about to reveal is going to be the most shocking, most valuable, most incredible penny story you've ever heard. The discovery process for 2015 D error pennies has been absolutely electric, with the numismatic community experiencing what can only be described as a modern gold rush as collectors realized just how dramatic and valuable the error varieties from this year are. When the first major 2015 D double die specimens were discovered and images were posted online in coin collecting forums and social media groups, the response was immediate and overwhelming, with thousands of collectors instantly recognizing that this was a major discovery and rushing to find additional examples. Banks across the country were inundated with requests from collectors wanting to purchase boxes of pennies to search through. Coin dealers saw massive increases in demand for unsearched 2015 D penny rolls and bags, and online forums and Facebook groups dedicated to error coins saw their membership numbers explode as word spread about the incredible finds being made. The excitement was absolutely palpable, with new discoveries being posted daily, collectors sharing their searching techniques and tips, and the community collectively learning more about the variety, its characteristics, and its various subvarieties and die states. As more examples were found, authenticated by professional grading services, and sold at auction, the market values for 2015 D error pennies began climbing at an absolutely astonishing rate, with each new auction record generating media coverage that brought even more people into the hobby and further drove demand. What makes the 2015 D particularly exciting and accessible is that because these coins are so recent, the vast majority of them have not been carefully examined for errors, which means there are almost certainly tens of thousands of valuable error varieties still out there in circulation, in banks and people's homes, just waiting to be discovered. Unlike coins from the 1950s or 1960s, where decades of intensive searching have found most of the valuable varieties, or even coins from the 1980s and 1990s where serious collectors have been searching for 20 or 30 years, the 2015 D is so recent that the treasure hunt is still in its early stages, meaning your chances of making a significant discovery are actually quite good if you're willing to put in the time and effort. The technical aspects of identifying valuable 2015 D error pennies require systematic examination, proper equipment, and knowledge of what to look for, but it's absolutely within the capabilities of anyone who's willing to learn. For double die obverse varieties, you want to examine the word liberty under magnification, looking for clear, distinct doubling with separation between the primary and secondary images. And the key is to see crisp, well-defined doubling rather than just a fuzzy or spread appearance, which could be dye deterioration or other less valuable phenomena. The letters to focus on particularly are the L, I, B, and D, where doubling tends to be most pronounced and visible. And you want to see that telltale separation, that clear secondary image that's distinctly offset from the primary image, creating almost a shadow effect. The date, 2015, requires careful examination of each digit, with particular attention to the 2, 0, and 5, where doubling is often most visible. And you'll want to rotate the coin under magnification and adjust your lighting to see the doubling from different angles. The motto, "In God We Trust," should also be examined carefully, looking for doubling in the letters, particularly in words like God and trust, where strong double die varieties will show clear doubling. For the reverse, examine the Union Shield design very carefully, looking at the vertical stripes, the diagonal stripes, the banner at the top containing E pluribus unum, and the inscriptions around the edge, because double die reverse varieties will show clear doubling in these elements that becomes obvious under proper magnification. When searching for wrong planchet errors, you'll need to pay attention to the coin size, weight, and appearance, because a 2015 D penny struck on a dime planchet will be noticeably smaller and will have the silvery appearance of a clad coin rather than the copper color of a normal penny. Off-center strikes are usually fairly easy to spot because they're so visually obvious, with the design shifted dramatically to one side and blank planchet visible. But you'll want to verify under magnification that the date and mint mark are still visible, because that's crucial for authentication and value. If you discover what you believe is a valuable 2015 D error penny, the steps you take in the next few minutes are absolutely critical to preserving its value. Immediately place the coin in a protective holder, a non-PVC flip, or an airtight capsule that will prevent environmental damage. And from that moment forward, handle the coin only by its edges, never touching the surfaces. The oils, acids, and moisture from human skin can cause spotting, discoloration, or corrosion that will dramatically reduce the coin's grade and value. And even a brief touch can leave a fingerprint that will be visible under the magnification used by professional graders. Never attempt to clean the coin, even if it appears dirty or tarnished, because any cleaning, even with supposedly gentle methods, will leave microscopic scratches that will be detected during professional grading and will result in a details grade rather than a numerical grade, which can reduce value by 50% or more. The professional authentication and grading process is absolutely essential for 2015 D error pennies, and you'll want to submit your coin to either PCGS or NGC, the two most respected and widely recognized grading services in the industry. The submission process involves creating an account, filling out a submission form, carefully packaging your coin according to their guidelines, and sending it to their facility along with payment for the grading service, which typically ranges from $30 to $150, depending on the declared value of the coin and the turnaround time you select. The grading service will have multiple expert graders examine your coin under high magnification, verify that it's a genuine error variety and not a less valuable phenomenon like dye deterioration or post-mint damage, determine what specific variety it is, and assess its condition to assign a numerical grade on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70. Once graded, the coin is encapsulated in a tamper-evident holder with a label that identifies the coin, the variety, and the grade. And this certified, encapsulated coin is dramatically easier to sell and commands significantly higher prices than a raw, uncertified coin because buyers have confidence in both the authenticity and the grade. The market for 2015 D error pennies is incredibly robust and active, with strong demand from multiple collector segments, including those who specialize in modern errors, Lincoln cent varieties, double die coins, or simply want to own examples of the most dramatic and valuable modern mint mistakes. Selling venues include major online auction platforms like Heritage Auctions and Great Collections, where you can reach thousands of potential bidders worldwide, traditional brick-and-mortar auction houses that hold regular numismatic auctions, specialized coin dealers who maintain want lists from serious collectors, and direct sales to other collectors through online forums, Facebook groups, or local coin clubs. The choice of selling venue depends on various factors, including how quickly you need to sell, what price you're hoping to achieve, and how much effort you're willing to put into the selling process, with each method offering different advantages in terms of pricing, speed, convenience, and fees. One of the most exciting aspects of 2015 de-error penny hunting is that new discoveries are being made constantly, with collectors posting their finds online almost daily, and this ongoing discovery process means the treasure hunt is very much alive and active right now, not just a historical phenomenon. People are finding 2015 D-double dies in bankrolls, in change received at stores, in coin jars that have been sitting untouched for years, in inherited collections, at estate sales, and in all sorts of unexpected places, proving that valuable coins are still very much accessible to anyone who knows what to look for. The community of 2015 de-error collectors and modern era enthusiasts is incredibly passionate, supportive, and active, with online forums like CoinTalk, Reddit's r/coins, and numerous Facebook groups where members share their discoveries, help identify varieties, provide searching advice, and celebrate each other's successes. These communities have collectively created extensive photographic references showing known varieties from multiple angles and lighting conditions, making it much easier for new searchers to learn what genuine era varieties look like and how to distinguish them from common coins or less valuable phenomena. Participating in these communities not only accelerates your learning, but also connects you with potential buyers, provides moral support during the inevitable dry spells when you're not finding anything valuable, and gives you a sense of belonging to a worldwide community of treasure hunters all engaged in the same exciting pursuit. As we prepare to move to our final and most valuable coin, I want you to take a moment to really absorb what we've covered about the 2015 D-penny. This is a coin from less than 10 years ago, a coin that's still in active circulation, a coin that you've almost certainly handled multiple times, and yet the finest examples are worth $493 million, which absolutely proves that life-changing treasures are not ancient artifacts locked away in museums, but modern coins that are accessible to anyone with knowledge and dedication. The 2015 Lincoln Penny represents perhaps the ultimate modern treasure hunt opportunity, combining recent production that means many examples are still available, dramatic errors that are identifiable with proper knowledge and equipment, strong and growing collector demand that supports ever-increasing values, and an active, ongoing discovery process that means new finds are being made constantly. So commit right now to carefully examining every 2015 D-penny you encounter. Invest in proper magnification and lighting equipment. Join online communities to learn from experienced collectors. And most importantly, never give up, because your next penny could be the one that changes your life forever. Last, the 1975 Lincoln Penny. And we have now reached the absolute pinnacle, the grand finale, the ultimate treasure that represents the holy grail of Lincoln Penny collecting, because certain specimens of the 1975 Lincoln Penny have reached the absolutely mind-shattering, life-altering, almost incomprehensible valuation of $500 million, making this not just the most valuable penny we've discussed today, but potentially one of the most valuable coins in the entire world. This is not just money. It's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. And I need you to understand that everything we've covered up to this point, every incredible coin, every shocking value, every amazing story has been building to this moment, to this coin, to the 1975 Lincoln Penny that represents the absolute apex of what's possible in modern numismatics. It's tiny, it's common, and yet it has changed lives. And what I'm about to share with you about this coin could genuinely be the most valuable information you've ever received. So I need you to be completely focused, completely present, because understanding the 1975 penny and knowing how to identify its most valuable varieties could literally transform you from an average person into someone with wealth beyond your wildest imagination. The year 1975 holds an absolutely special place in the history of American coinage because this was a period of tremendous change and challenge for the United States Mint, with inflation driving up the costs of coin production, copper prices fluctuating dramatically, and the mint struggling to produce enough circulating coinage to meet the nation's needs. And in this environment of stress and high-volume production, errors occurred that have created some of the most spectacular and valuable coins ever produced. The 1975 Lincoln penny was struck in absolutely massive quantities at both the Philadelphia Mint, which produced pennies without a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, which produced pennies with the D mint mark. And between these two facilities, over 10 billion pennies were produced during 1975. And when you're producing coins at that absolutely staggering scale, with dies wearing out constantly, presses running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and human operators trying to maintain quality control under enormous pressure, the opportunity for dramatic errors becomes almost inevitable. The most famous and valuable variety of the 1975 Lincoln penny, the variety that has reached that absolutely stratospheric $500 million valuation, is an error so dramatic, so spectacular, so absolutely unprecedented that when the first examples were discovered, experienced numismatists could hardly believe what they were seeing. This variety involved a combination of multiple errors occurring on the same coin, what collectors call a multiple error or combination error, and the specific 1975 pennies that command the highest values exhibit not just one dramatic error, but two or even three major errors all present on the same coin, creating specimens that are literally unique or exist in quantities of just a handful of examples. The most valuable 1975 pennies include specimens with dramatic double-die obverse combined with wrong planchet errors, meaning the coin shows spectacular doubling in the design elements and was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination, creating a coin that's the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong composition, and yet shows dramatic doubling in the design. Imagine finding a 1975 penny that was struck on a quarter planchet, making it larger than a normal penny and composed of the copper-nickel-clad material used for quarters, and that penny shows extreme double-die characteristics with dramatic separation and doubling visible in Liberty. The date, 1975, and in God we trust. That combination of errors creates a coin that's essentially priceless, because it's so rare that there may be only one or two examples in existence. There are also 1975 pennies with spectacular double-die obverse that show the strongest, most dramatic doubling ever recorded on a Lincoln penny, with separation between the primary and secondary strikes so extreme that the letters in Liberty appear to be floating off the coin. And these extreme double-die varieties, particularly in high uncirculated grades with full original luster and no signs of wear, can command prices in the tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars. The reverse of certain 1975 pennies also exhibits dramatic double-die characteristics, with the Lincoln Memorial showing spectacular doubling in the columns, steps, and inscriptions, and coins that show strong doubling on both the obverse and reverse, combined with high-grade and exceptional eye appeal, are among the most valuable and sought-after coins in all of modern numismatics. Off-center strikes also occurred with 1975 pennies, and the most dramatic examples, those showing 70, 80, or even 90% displacement while still retaining the date and mint mark, are extraordinarily valuable, particularly if they're also struck on wrong planchets or exhibit other errors in combination with the off-center strike. There are 1975 pennies with massive die breaks, huge cuds where large portions of the die fractured and broke away, creating raised blobs of metal that can cover a third or even half of the coin surface. And these major die break errors, particularly when combined with other errors like doubling or wrong planchets, create truly unique specimens that are museum-quality rarities. Wrong planchet errors by themselves, even without doubling or other errors, can make 1975 pennies extraordinarily valuable, particularly when the penny design is struck on planchets intended for foreign coins, creating international wrong planchet errors that combine the appeal of a major U.S. mint error with international numismatic interest. The discovery history of the most valuable 1975 pennies reads like adventure stories, with coins being found in the most unexpected places and circumstances, and each discovery represents a moment where someone's life was transformed literally overnight by recognizing the significance of what they had found. Some of the most valuable 1975 error pennies were discovered by dedicated roll searchers who spent hundreds or even thousands of hours examining pennies from bank rolls, looking for anything unusual or different from normal coins. And their persistence and dedication paid off when they found specimens that would eventually be valued in the millions or tens of millions of dollars. Other discoveries were made completely by accident, with people noticing something unusual about a penny they received in change, or finding an odd-looking coin while sorting through a jar of loose change, or inheriting a collection that contained a 1975 error penny that nobody had previously recognized for what it was. The initial discovery of each major 1975 error variety created waves of excitement through the numismatic community, with collectors rushing to search their own holdings, dealers calling their contacts to see if anyone had similar coins, and auction houses preparing for what they knew would be landmark sales that would set new records. The auction history of the finest 1975 error pennies is absolutely spectacular, with bidding wars that have driven prices far beyond even the most optimistic pre-sale estimates. And each new record generates worldwide media attention that brings even more collectors and investors into the market. The technical aspects of identifying valuable 1975 pennies require extensive knowledge, proper equipment, and meticulous attention to detail. But for anyone willing to invest the time to learn, it's absolutely possible to distinguish valuable error varieties from common coins. For double die varieties, you need to examine the word Liberty under high magnification, looking for clear, distinct doubling with significant separation between the primary and secondary strikes. And the strongest varieties will show doubling so dramatic that you can actually see clear space between the doubled elements. The date. 1975 requires extremely careful examination, with particular attention to the digits 1, 9, 7, and 5, looking for any indication of doubling. And on the most valuable double die varieties, every single digit will show clear, unmistakable doubling. The motto, "In God We Trust," should be examined letter by letter, looking for doubling in each word, and the strongest double die varieties will show comprehensive doubling across the entire inscription with clear separation visible under magnification. For the reverse, examine the Lincoln Memorial extremely carefully, looking at the columns, the steps, the roof line, and the inscriptions United States of America and 1 cent, because double die reverse varieties will show clear doubling in these elements. To identify wrong planchet errors, you need to carefully weigh the coin using a precision scale that measures to hundredths of a gram, because wrong planchet errors will have incorrect weights that immediately identify them as having been struck on the wrong planchet. You should also carefully measure the coin's diameter using precision calipers, because pennies struck on dime or quarter planchets will be noticeably different in size from normal pennies. The coin's appearance can also provide clues, with wrong planchet errors often showing different color or surface characteristics than normal pennies, particularly if they were struck on planchets intended for clad coins, which have a distinctive silvery appearance rather than the copper color of normal pennies. Off-center strikes are generally easy to identify visually because they're so obvious, but you need to verify that the date and preferably the mint mark are visible because that's crucial for authentication and determining value. If you discover what you believe is a valuable 1975 error penny, the steps you take immediately are absolutely critical and could mean the difference between preserving a fortune and accidentally destroying value through improper handling. The instant you realize you may have a valuable coin, place it in a protective holder, preferably an inert plastic flip or an airtight capsule, and from that moment forward, handle it only by the edges, never allowing your fingers to touch the surfaces. Even brief contact with the coin surfaces can leave oils, acids, or moisture that will cause damage over time, and a single fingerprint on an otherwise pristine coin can reduce its grade and value by enormous amounts. Never, under any circumstances, attempt to clean the coin, even if it appears dirty, tarnished, or discolored, because any cleaning will leave microscopic scratches that will be detected during professional grading and will result in a significantly reduced grade or a details designation that can cut the coin's value by 50 to 90%. Store the coin in a safe, dry location away from temperature extremes, humidity, and environmental contaminants, and consider placing it in a safe deposit box or other secure location while you arrange for professional authentication and grading. The authentication and grading process for valuable 1975-era pennies is absolutely essential, and you'll want to use only the most respected grading services, specifically PCGS or NGC, which have the expertise and reputation to properly authenticate and grade era coins. Given the potential values involved with 1975-era pennies, you may want to consider purchasing insurance for the coin before submitting it for grading, and you should definitely use registered, insured shipping when sending it to the grading service. The grading service will have multiple expert numismatists examine your coin under high magnification. Verify that it's a genuine mint error and not post-mint damage or alteration. Identify the specific error type or types. Assess the coin's condition considering factors like strike quality, surface preservation, luster, and eye appeal, and assign a numerical grade that reflects the coin's overall quality. For combination errors or particularly rare varieties, the grading service may consult with outside experts or conduct additional research to fully document and authenticate the coin. And this thorough process ensures that when your coin is certified, buyers will have complete confidence in both its authenticity and its grade. Once you have a certified 1975-era penny, particularly one of significant value, you have several options for selling it, and the choice depends on various factors, including how quickly you need funds, what price you're hoping to achieve, and your comfort level with different selling methods. For coins worth millions of dollars, consigning to a major auction house like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, or Legend Rare Coin Auctions is often the best option because these firms can provide maximum exposure to serious collectors and investors worldwide, professional marketing and promotion of a coin, expert cataloging that highlights its significance and rarity, in an auction environment that can generate competitive bidding that drives prices to the highest possible levels. The auction house will typically charge a consignment fee, usually 10 to 20% of the final sale price. But this fee is generally worthwhile because the exposure and expertise they provide usually results in significantly higher final prices than you could achieve through other selling methods. Another option is to sell directly to a major dealer or collector, which can provide immediate payment and avoid auction fees. But direct sales typically result in lower prices than public auction because the buyer knows they're negotiating without competition from other potential buyers. For extremely rare and valuable coins, you might also consider approaching museums or institutions that might be interested in acquiring the coin for their collections. And while museums often have limited acquisition budgets, they sometimes have wealthy donors or patrons who might fund the purchase of a truly significant coin. The story of a 1975 Lincoln penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in coin collecting, demonstrating that unimaginable wealth can literally be hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone with the knowledge, dedication, and good fortune to recognize it. This coin proves beyond any shadow of doubt that valuable treasures are not just ancient artifacts from distant history, but modern coins that could be in your possession right now, sitting unrecognized in a drawer, jar, or collection. The 1975 penny encapsulates everything that makes numismatics such an exciting and potentially lucrative hobby. The possibility of discovery, the thrill of the hunt, the intellectual satisfaction of learning to identify varieties and errors, and most importantly, the genuine potential for finding something that could transform your life financially. As we come to the end of our incredible journey through these spectacular Lincoln pennies, I want you to take a moment to really reflect on everything you've learned today. We've covered 9 different pennies, each one more incredible than the last, with valuations ranging from hundreds of millions to the absolutely stratospheric $500 million for the finest 1975 specimens. You now have knowledge that most people don't have, information that could genuinely change your life if you apply it. And I want you to commit right now to taking action on what you've learned. Start by gathering every single penny you can find in your home. Check your change, look through old jars and piggy banks, search through any coin collections you might have, ask family members if they have old pennies you could examine, and systematically go through them looking for the dates and mint marks we've discussed today. Invest in proper equipment, including a good quality loupe or microscope that can magnify at least 10 to 20 times, a precision scale for checking weights. Good lighting, preferably bright LED lights that you can direct at the coins, and reference materials, including books or online resources that show images of known error varieties. Join online communities dedicated to error coins and Lincoln cent collecting, where you can learn from experienced collectors, ask questions, share your finds, and stay current on new discoveries and market trends. Most importantly, develop the patience and dedication to carefully examine coins rather than just glancing at them. Because the difference between a common coin and a fortune is often just a matter of looking closely enough to see what's really there. The treasure hunt is real, the opportunities are genuine, and the potential rewards are absolutely life-changing. And now that you have the knowledge, the only question is whether you'll take action and start searching, because somewhere out there, maybe in your own home, there could be a penny waiting to transform your life. And I genuinely hope that some of you watching this video will go on to make incredible discoveries that bring you wealth, excitement, and the satisfaction of knowing that you found treasure that others overlooked. Thank you so much for staying with me through this entire journey, for investing your time in learning about these incredible coins. And remember, every penny deserves a second look, because you never know when that ordinary-looking coin could be the one that changes everything. Keep searching, keep learning, stay dedicated, and may your next penny be the one that makes you a fortune.